What's going on, everyone? The market was all over the place today, but I have a great feeling tomorrow is gonna be awesome. So, looking at the market today, it was mostly red. And Tom, I don't know if hell froze over or what happened, but we saw some of these tech powerhouses like Nvidia, AMD, and Tesla finally pull back to the downside. What is happening in this crazy market?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty crazy to see a big pullback like this happen. And Powell testified this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. He's actually testifying tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time as well. But man, it didn't really make the markets do too much. A lot of people were hoping maybe he'd help us move back to the upside. And the SPY did pop up a little bit. But like you mentioned, those big tech stocks really kept selling over today. And if we actually look at my watch list on the left side of the screen, like look at all these big stocks to the downside. Intel, AMD, Tesla, Zoom, even SPCE ended up down 5%, even with that big launch news. Roku, Lucid, I mean, all these big growth slash tech stocks were starting to really fall. Even Netflix had a pretty bloody day. So overall, we just saw a lot of selling pressure, and a lot of these big stocks are finally breaking supports. Like, look at Netflix here. They have a humongous support right around 427, and this morning, we actually busted right below there and then confirmed off of it end of day. And if this selling pressure continues into tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of great setups. And Mike, there are a lot of big things to talk about for tomorrow, including, like I said, Powell's going to be obviously having that testimony tomorrow, but we even have some big stuff going on with Beyond Meat, VIX call options. And I'll tell you what, whenever you see a lot of money going into VIX calls, it definitely is a little bit worrying.
I hope you guys are ready, because the rest, I guess we'll say the remaining 2 days of this week are going to be action-packed. And Tom, while we are seeing some significant selling pressure and risk out of, these big tech stocks, one asset class that is really separating itself is Bitcoin. This thing is rallying in a really nice way right now. It's at its highest level in like a month or so. It's back above the 30K mark, and it looks like the bulls are back for Bitcoin, baby.
They really are, and that was huge today to get above 30,000. And if anyone's watching this for tomorrow, definitely keep your eyes on that $30,000 mark. We actually bounced off of it a couple times after we broke back above it today, so it was a big level there. And I know Mara and Riot were really exploding today. If we look at that percentage move, 4.18%. But let's actually look like if you would have caught it down here around one of these supports up to the high, you could have caught maybe a 5.8, almost 6% move there to the upside. So definitely a lot of potential, I think, out of Bitcoin and all these Bitcoin ETFs, Mike. And that's the big thing why they're starting to move. We have BITO, which is one of those Bitcoin strategy ETFs. It was up 7% as we see this. But the real reason why they're moving here, Mike, is because we keep seeing bigger companies like BlackRock submitting applications for their spot Bitcoin ETF. There's been a couple other applications for Bitcoin ETFs going through as well. So you're just seeing more and more support for Bitcoin. And I think those ETFs will really help out as traders start to, you don't have to go through a ton of regulations or anything like that. You can just keep trading it with your normal stock account. You don't have to switch over to Coinbase or anything weird like that.
Exactly. And when you have, ETFs, like real ETFs happen for Bitcoin, like you said, it makes it easier for money to flow into them. But at the same time, it also just legitimizes Bitcoin itself, which is a huge thing. And when you have a giant behemoth company like BlackRock submitting an ETF application, a lot of people say, you know what, maybe BlackRock knows something, especially with Bitcoin at this level. So it's definitely interesting, and I know that the bulls sure love it. And, the current, I guess you could say, options to trade Bitcoin in like ETF format kind of suck right now. And, I think an ETF would make it a lot easier to trade options on Bitcoin too. So I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be really fun whenever some of those start to come out. And, the big thing is like, hey, we want it to really follow and be highly correlated with Bitcoin. I'm sure that, BITO moves with Bitcoin for the most part, but like look at that daily chart. It's very spotty, very choppy. Like we need something with a little bit better momentum, better movement. Like if we go to a normal stock like AMD, it's not all choppy and stuff like that. So I think it'll definitely come, Mike. And I think some of those Bitcoin ETFs might even be trading 24/5 after a little while.
I saw I believe now on Robinhood you could actually trade stocks 24 hours a day, which is pretty cool. I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, but I think it's actually fully live now. I have not verified it for myself, but I thought I saw a headline the other day related to that. But on a different note, Tom, as we talk about the market overall, as of right now, the VIX is seeing a ton of call option open interest, and the main thing you need to know here is that there are a ton of call option positions being held on the VIX index right now. And if you don't know what that means, that's essentially a gigantic warning sign, because whenever shit hits the fan and there's panic selling and fear in the markets, VIX explodes to the upside. And this is basically a bunch of people betting that VIX is going to explode to the upside, which would mean that there'd be a lot of panic in the markets right now. So big warning sign here. Pay attention. There's a lot of ways to follow this. You can buy VIX calls. You can buy UVXY. You can buy VXX. You can, buy VXX calls. There's a bunch of ways to play it, but do not ignore this.
Yeah, and I know I've been watching this big wedge on VXX, or I should say VIX, the actual index itself, overall here for a couple of years now. And I know that we've seen a couple big breakouts, and, it really follows some of these trend lines to the downside. Recently, we got that big break below there, and it's done nothing but go down. And I'm curious if maybe we start to get down to like this 12, maybe 13 area on the VIX. We'll start to see more buyers coming in, obviously, as that market starts to dip. The big thing, I think, is going to be these big tech stocks like we're talking about. We're finally starting to see selling pressure. If we go to like Microsoft's daily chart, there's finally some solid red candles coming in. It was nothing but just going straight up ever since the beginning of this year, and we're even getting to those all-time highs again, if not even, breaking it. So it's insane just to see how much some of these stocks are up, and I'm not surprised that people are going in on the VIX calls, Mike. I'm honestly with them. I don't have VIX calls directly. I do have UVXY, but I do believe that, that those ETFs that go against the market will start to pop up. Even if you don't want to go with VIX, I think even SPXS is another good way to go.
Exactly, and that's a great point. Like, a lot of people will see, all right, a bunch of people are holding VIX calls, and even if you can't buy VIX calls, that's okay. A very similar position can be, you could say, SPY put options, or, even some of these big tech put options, or, like Tom mentioned, like some inverse ETFs, like you could do like SPXS, you could do SQQQ, like a bunch of things like that. But either way, this is a pretty bearish sign. And Tom, as we look at just bearish signs for the markets, what would you say are some very key levels ahead for SPY?
Yeah, so looking at the QQQ and the SPY, they're up a lot right now. And I know that we talked a lot about this big channel here that the SPY was in. And, it's huge to see us breaking below there. And we actually made a pretty good low today. But I think that there's even a bigger support coming up. So if we look, there was a big wick on the SPY down here, right around 434 to like 433.80. I'm going to really be watching that level on the SPY over the next couple days. I think if we break that, we could have a pretty significant move, maybe back down to 432. Now, I know that's not huge, just a couple points, but whenever you're trading SPY options intraday, that can be quite the move there. So keep your eyes on that. I will say, SPY was extremely choppy. If we go to a 1-minute chart, if you're really wanting to scalp something quick, we had that low of day right around 434.40. That could be pretty big there to trade below as well. But like I said, I think it's better just to like wait for some of those safer levels. But it was just so choppy today, Mike. It was honestly a big chop fest with Powell talking. I didn't think the market really knew how to react from it.
Right? Crazy stuff. And on another note, there are some scary updates related to the missing Titanic sub. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard about this, but essentially what we have going on here is there was a submersible, kind of like a submarine, that was set to do like an underwater tour of the Titanic, and essentially it lost connection to its like main mothership, you can say, and no one knows where this is. Like, this is like a giant story right now. This submersible can be 13,000 feet below the surface. It could be floating somewhere random in the middle of the ocean right now, or who knows what. Like, the scary part is no one knows where these people are. I think there's like 4 or 5 people in there, and they paid like $250,000 per per seat, which is crazy to think about. But what's scary is no one knows where this missing submersible is, and they are literally deadbolted inside the ship. So, or you could say the submersible. So like even if it's above the ocean, you know, like they're floating, they're still a giant problem because they're deadbolted inside. They're running out of food, running out of oxygen, and it's a very scary situation.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I saw a ton of weird things going on with this situation too, Mike. Like, I read through these articles, and apparently they weren't hiring like any older people. They were hiring a lot of younger people. They specifically said, you know, they caught headlines because they kept saying they didn't hire 50-year-old white guys because they weren't inspirational. And I don't think that they were trying to be racist or anything by that. They were just simply saying that, you know, they really wanted like a younger crew. But at the same time, you know, whenever you get a younger crew, you maybe don't get as much experience. Apparently, this is what the crew looked like. I don't know. It seems pretty, you know, cool to me, Mike. But what's interesting is that they were actually controlling this with a controller off of Amazon. Apparently, it's a Logitech controller. Man, Mike, whenever I started looking up this controller, I was really laughing. Like, you're powering a submarine with a $30 Windows video game controller. To me, that's just mind-boggling to me. No wonder they got lost. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, be dissensitive or anything, but you know that is pretty weird.
If I paid $250,000 for a seat on this I don't even know what to call it, like submarine, and I found out the controller was worth $30, I would get the hell off that thing as soon as possible. And it's scary because it's like if I were to like fly in like I don't even know, like the balloons where you fly up in the sky. I'm blanking right now. And then I bought the balloon from the dollar store, and then if the balloon pops, it's like I can't blame the company who made the balloon, or in this case, I can't blame the company who made the controller, which is Logitech. And that's why we're talking about this situation right now, because the company who made that $30 controller that was piloted by this submarine that went 13,000 feet below the ocean is now falling. Now, they're all over the place in the after hours, but they tanked down today, and you know, it was a pretty rough day, and I know they were getting some flack for it, but it's like, you can't blame Logitech. Like, the $30 controller is meant for like the PS3 or just like video games. It's not meant to, you know, be used for like a Titanic submarine tourism spot.
Exactly. Whoever came up with that, Mike, is nuts. You're paying $250,000. You're using a $30 controller. Poor Logitech here. I feel bad that they even had to go through this today. I hope that they can recover in after hours here and actually recover up and then some, because that was pretty unfortunate situation for them. But yeah, you know, going back to the situation, it definitely looks like a very confined space and is pretty scary to see. So, you know, prayers out to everybody there. I hope that they get found, and that is just so scary. I could not imagine being stuck in there. You know, imagine, Mike, once you got to use the bathroom, like, then it would get real disgusting in there too.
Gosh, yeah, it's so scary because it's like, you know, when you're lost in the ocean, it's like they can literally be floating on the surface right now. They can be stuck somewhere by the Titanic. They can be somewhere on the ocean floor, and no one knows. And it's like when you're running out of oxygen and food, it's scary. And I know there's like a giant search underway right now, but a lot of people are saying like even the most advanced military equipment are struggling to find this crew right now because of how small the submarine is. It's only like 22 feet long and then like 9 feet high, which is not really that much. And it's like, you know, it's not a full submarine, so like there's not really like a real like engine or anything like that to like actually like make noise and allow the, you know, the submarine to be found. So it's really scary, and I really hope they find them.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Mike, like, this guy probably, you know, the guy using a $30 controller probably didn't have the best, you know, radar/safety stuff on there either.
Right.
So I'm really praying for him, Mike. I hope things can be found on him. But, you know, like we said, it did affect Logitech stock a little bit, which was pretty big for it. And I'm hoping that they can recover the next couple days. I will say, though, it's going to be hard whenever you have stuff like AMD doing what they did today. I mean, that was brutal.
Right? And then, Tom, on another note, there's even more crazy news that I came across recently, and it has to do with the good old government, baby. So the Pentagon came out and said that it has made an quote-unquote accounting error and has provided an extra $6.2 billion for Ukraine. Tom, can I rename myself to Ukraine, please?
I know, right? I wish I could. $6.2 billion because of an accounting error. I don't know, Mike. I think that accounting error might have been done on purpose. How do you accidentally do $6.2 billion? That is just too much for an error like that.
I see one of the comments on Twitter says 10% for the big guy.
Look at all these. Look at these memes right here. Oh my gosh, some of these things are funny.
Good stuff. So yeah, that was interesting. But Tom, I hope you're hungry because we had some news coming out today with some new fake meat approvals. So what we can see right here is lab-grown meat in the United States has been cleared for approval. And essentially, this is kind of interesting because we have certain companies like Beyond Meat that, are in that industry. And I'm sure more and more companies will IPO and, adapt to this industry. But, Beyond Meat is, one of those stocks, in that, you could say in that industry. And they've just taken a mighty beatdown over the years. Right now, the stock, BYND, is trading for $12.42, and it has all-time highs of $240 a share that it made back in 2019. And basically ever since like 2019 and like 2021, this stock has been in just a very consistent and powerful downtrend. But every now and then when we get like new hype and new news, like approval for like the fake meat stuff and all things like that, these stocks can move. So I guess keep a close eye on BYND for the next couple weeks and months because this stock does move off of news.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking for it to start to come up off of some of these lows as well. Kind of reminds me of some of these stocks that have just had some terrible goes recently, like Zoom. It's another one. They just keep falling and falling and falling. Eventually, these companies are going to do a little bit better. Zoom had a pretty big pullback today, unfortunately, now that I look at the daily chart. Not trying to get off of Beyond Meat at all. That is a pretty big article, though, to see, just more things being passed and allowed, obviously. I know more people are going towards this. Like you said, Mike, you said you hoped I was hungry. I was hungry till I heard it was fake meat. Now I'm a little turned off by it, but I'm not going to lie. As this stuff goes forward, maybe it'll start to get better, and I'm not going to lie. If that's fake chicken right there, it looks pretty damn good.
Alrighty, well, Tom, it is now time for some setups for tomorrow, and with the first one, I have Coinbase, and I am watching this one to the upside. As we talked about earlier in the video, we've been hearing a lot of good news with Bitcoin and cryptos lately, and Coinbase has a lot to gain from that, so I will be watching it to the upside. Ideally, I'd like to see a break above like $59.50, and I think it has some nice room up, especially if this good news continues.
Yeah, they had some big intraday swings. They were wild with some of those uptrends and downtrends throughout the day. I'm surprised they didn't end up a little bit higher with Bitcoin, doing what they did. But yeah, I'll definitely keep it on the radar. Coinbase, definitely worth watching. And I already talked about AMD a couple times. You guys probably knew I was going to talk about this one again. We finally got the big break of that support, 116 today. Finally, we've been waiting for it for like almost a month or two, I feel like. So we finally got that movement down there. If we can break the low of day today, right below like 111.75, I'll be looking for more puts. If we break that in pre-market, then watch for a move under 110. I think 110 is going to be a pretty big area of support as we go, into tomorrow and the next couple days. And that was just brutal today, Mike. I don't know if it gets much worse than a sell-off like this.
Yeah, it's tough. 6% in one day is a big hit, especially for a stock that appears to do nothing but go up every day. It's like AMD has been on such a crazy run lately where it's like, looks like the music's stopping.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel bad for it, but at the same time, and it's up so much, we just have to expect this. And I know a lot of traders just love these stocks, and I'm not trying to, make you hate AMD or anything, but I feel like as it starts to fall, start to eye up $100 because I love AMD for the longer term, just not at these levels. I'll definitely be a share buyer, though, as we start to pull back more.
Sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is TLT, and this is the same stock I talked about yesterday, and it basically went up all day long with the exception of like, I don't know, maybe like the first 30 minutes to hour in the market open. But essentially what we're going to see right now is as we have a market that is very overbought, a lot of people get turned off from opening new bullish positions right now. At the same time, it's been a pretty hard market to short, where it's like, people are also kind of scared to bet against the market. So what you see in these situations is a resort to safety. And TLT is one of those safe haven assets where it's like, people resort to bonds in times when they're just scared and, they don't know what to do. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. So I'm going to be watching TLT again to the upside for tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it. It got really close to breaking that resistance today. It ran all the way up to it. And that's actually a really big, like triple, almost quadruple top if we actually go back over the past few weeks. So really watch it. I think if it breaks like 103.70, that thing is going to explode, especially if we see the movement we did today. But man, I know that we've been watching Microsoft over the past few days, and I wanted to hit on this one because it's actually running down into a big area of support. We have 333 and then 332, and I wanted to hit on this really big because I saw a lot of buyers there today on the book map. So we can see 330 right here in after hours. There was around 6,000 shares. During the day, there was a ton more stacked up at that level. And I feel like that if we can break under that like 332 to 330 area tomorrow, we'll see more selling to the downside. There's a lot of sellers overhead, Mike. If we actually scroll out, you can see there's these big stacks like 350, 360, 345. Just so many sellers there. So I'm definitely watching for this one to continue down with the market. And, it's just so overextended on the daily. How could we not look at it to the downside? We've even seen some big money flowing into it, too.
There we go. All right, Tom. Well, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have GLD to the upside.
GLD, I'm so glad this one closed high. I was like worried about it falling down. If it moves above 180, watch for calls. That is a huge level on GLD. I think we've talked about 180 for like the past year almost.
All right, with the next one, we have Google to the downside.
Yeah, Google here. So go ahead and make them break under 120, just under that low of day. It's a very similar setup to AMD, actually.
And with the last one, we have AMD, and we need both directions.
Yeah, so watch for them to move under 111.50. They better go down tomorrow, Mike, with the way they fell today. But if they do end up rising and breaking back above that double top at 114, then look for a quick scalp. I will say, though, if they run up, I wouldn't hold it too long. I'd be very worried about it turning back over at some point.
All right, well, you guys heard Tom. We have those levels for AMD. And then if we go back to Google for a second, we have the downside level on that one. If it breaks below that, we're watching it for puts. And then we have the upside level on GLD. If it breaks above that, we are watching it for calls. But it is now time for the big money $1.5 million trade of the day. And we are looking at NTLA. So essentially, we had someone dump $1.5 million into the NTLA 45 strike puts that expire on October 20th of 2023. For those of you who don't understand how options work, this is essentially a bet that NTLA will fall going forward. The more it falls, the more millions this trader will make. NTLA is one of those crazy biotechnology stocks that moves a lot off of news. So this is like a high risk, high reward play. To follow this big money setup, you can buy puts on NTLA, you can short the stock, you can buy like put debit spreads, and a bunch of stuff like that. But high risk, high reward.
Yeah, seems like it's really rejecting off that big resistance, and I'll say every time it's rejected off this resistance the past few times, it's had some pretty significant pullbacks. So I'm not surprised the big money's shorting it there. Even if it's just a pullback for a couple days, I kind of like it. Now, they do have some time on it, October 20th. It's 1.5 million, like you said. Any of these like therapeutic companies or anything like that, very reliant on news. But, that's a pretty big resistance there, around 46 to 48 as well. That'll definitely be in watch over the next few days.
Perfect. And then guys, I have to interrupt really quickly and say, if you are not already subscribed to the channel. Make sure to subscribe. In every single video, we go over multi-million-dollar big money hedge fund trades, just like this $1.5 million trade. A lot of times they work in an awesome way. And when you subscribe, like I said, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. So you'll be on top of all the important news, earnings, and events in the market. So subscribe if you haven't already. But Tom, we are set for a pretty good day tomorrow. You know, we've been seeing some profit taking, but that's not a bad thing. And I think ultimately it'll bring a lot of opportunity, whether it's trading, you know, alternative assets, maybe like Bitcoin and some of these crypto stocks, whether that be trading, you know, big tech stocks to the downside, or even, you know, buying the dip in certain situations. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really loving this movement. You know, I think that once we start to get some of these pullbacks really forming here, we're going to start to see some amazing intraday opportunities, just like we saw with AMD at open today. Continue to watch these stocks. I think that, you know how there's a lot of volatility around market open. I think we'll definitely start to see more red coming in here over the next couple weeks.
You know it. Well, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Skinny John 90. You're very new to the chat, but you did awesome today with SPY, and you've been showing a lot of great activities. So huge shout out to you. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end the week on an awesome note.